I'm on my way to interview an owner of an interesting car. I'm on my way to see Chris and have a chat about his Peugeot. I'm here talking to Chris about his 504 Peugeot V6 Coupe. So how long have you had this one?
Well, Jim, I bought it in 2006 from Richard Davies in Melbourne. Richard had bought it previously to restore, but had never got around to it. And when I was on the 2005 Ampol rerun with Richard, we were talking about it, and I said, well, will you sell it to me? And he did. So I picked it up in Melbourne on a trailer as a body shell. When Richard bought it, it was supposed to have had all the rust cut out of it by Sydney TAFE, and it was ready for paint and to fit out. So we thought. Anyway, I brought it home and found that a lot of the bright work that came with the car was in very poor condition. So we were over in England in later 2006, and Alistair Ingalls, the secretary of the Peugeot Car Club in the UK, and who comes to Australia nearly every year on Peugeot adventures, helped me, and I spent 6 weeks driving around the UK looking for bright work for it. You know, surrounds for the headlights, door handles, little pieces of chrome that go on the mouldings around the glass.
Well, that would have been something in itself.
And England being England,
yeah.
You'd get a piece in Cornwall and the fellow would say, I know a guy in Yorkshire that might have something, so race off up the other end of the country and get a bit there. I know a fellow in Devon, all the way back down again, but it was great. And I did collect all the pieces that I felt I needed to do a top-class restoration. And then we went to start fitting the bright work up on the shell as I bought it to make sure everything was good before we went to paint. Nothing fitted.
Yeah.
The headlights wouldn't go in the holes, the park lights stuck out about 2 inches off the side of the car, everything was the wrong shape. So there's a very good panel beater at Foster in New South Wales, Kevin McDonald at Phoenix Restorations, and Kevin's a friend of mine, and I said, Kev, I've got a project for you. And we rented a bay in a panel beating works, and he worked for me for 6 months. He did 430 hours work on the body shell. But first of all, he straightened up the front and we got everything to fit. But then we realised we had much bigger problems. Everywhere we went, everything was the wrong shape, and so we got in a soda blaster and completely stripped it back to the body shell. And then the adventure started. There was rust everywhere that had been bogged over and patched over. And Kevin has basically handmade almost every panel on the car except the turret. He's done door skins, mud guards, quarter panels, inner guards, C-pillars, beaver panel, and but he's done a magnificent job. He's a very, very clever fellow. So it was a question of rebuilding the engine, which was done by Jimmy Woolley in Newcastle. And Bill Hamilton, who's a Peugeot V6 specialist in Melbourne, built the extractors for it and the exhaust.
So parts for a V6, are they available?
Yeah. Because the engine was built by Peugeot, Renault, Volvo, it was a PRV V6.
Yeah.
It went into all sorts of cars.
Yeah.
The only difference was the heads and carburation was different between the various makes and marks. Peugeot went for the fuel injection, but no, you can still get parts pretty readily for them. But the biggest problem is that they've been sitting around a long time. You can get corrosion in the block, and a lot of the blocks are not usable for that reason. but the engine was rebuilt. We put a 5-speed gearbox in it, which was original. And the reason that this car was worth spending the time and money on is that it was a right-hand drive.
Yeah.
Because nearly all of the coupes are left-hand drive, and I think Peugeot only had about 169 of them converted to right-hand drive.
Yeah.
So they are quite rare.
Yeah.
There's another one in Murwillumbah. There's this one here, and Bill Hamilton in Victoria rallies one. He's built one totally for rally, because that's where this engine started in these cars. It was put into the coupe for the East African Safari Rally, which they won in 1974 with the coupe with the V6 in it. But they were built by Pininfarina in Italy, and at the same time...
You can see the heritage in that regard.
Yeah, when you look at the styling, you can see the sort of the Ferrari.
There's a Ferrari that does look, I don't know what one it is, but it does have that look to it.
But it's got a beautiful stance. It's a lovely handling car. When Pininfarina got the bodies from, or the floor pans from Peugeot, they shortened them 8 inches and widened them 6 inches. And we'll lift the bonnet in a minute and you'll be able to see where the widening, etc. happened. But all the mechanicals are basically off-the-shelf Peugeot. But there are a lot of specific things, like the little rubber drive between the motor and the windscreen wipers is specific to the coupe. It probably was pinched from a Fiat or something out of a parts bin, but it's not a Peugeot normal part. So there are those little idiosyncrasies. The only common body panel between the coupe and the sedan is the petrol flat lid. That's it. Every other piece is specific to the coupe. But it's taken me 10 years, to rebuild it. We did the interior in leather. It was done by a firm in Foster called Trek Trim, who only normally specialise in hot rods and show cars, and he's done a beautiful job. There's 8 German hides in the leather, the leather in them. The hood lining, which is all hand stitch ribbed, it's had 3 hood linings in it. The first one he did was the original colour, and he said he didn't like it with the black leather, so he took it out and he made a cream one and he put it in, and he didn't like it with the black leather, and he took it out and he put a very light grey, almost white one in, which is perfect. But he's that sort of a tradesman that if it goes out of his shop with his name on it, he's got to feel that it's worthy of his name. So he's that sort of a craftsman. But I rewired it myself. It took about 200 hours because I numbered every wire to the wiring harness. It's got a few additions above standard. It's got power steering in it, which came out of a 505 Peugeot. That allows me to use the small Nardi sport steering wheel rather than the large Peugeot one. We put air conditioning in it, which was an adventure in itself.
That would be a very big adventure, I would have thought.
Well, it's an original 504 Peugeot air conditioning. It's an under-dash unit with a very interesting manifold that goes down underneath the heater column and up into the centre console. And I had a vintage cruise control in my shed, so I decided to fit it as well. So I fitted the magnets to the half shafts at the back end with the pickup, and it's got a little vacuum unit here with a wire and a little chain that cruise controls used to have before they were electronic. And so it's got the power steering, air conditioning and cruise control are the only non-standard items in it, other than we put headrests in the seats when we recovered them purely for safety reasons.
None of it looks out of place though.
No, the headrests came out of a 604 Peugeot, and we just stood them vertical instead of having them pointing forward. But it's come up to a very nice car. I'm certainly looking forward to driving it in historic rallies, but in this occasion I'll probably only do the tar one.
It'll
be a little bit softer with this one.
I can't imagine, rallying a dirt road style in something like this?
Well, I've got a left-hand drive 2-litre one of these, which I bought as a donor car in case anything happened to this after the trouble it took me to buy the Brightwork, and I've driven it in quite a few historic rallies, and they handle very nicely in the dirt, but I don't enjoy driving left-hand drive in the dirt. You know, your line through your corner's got to be a lot safer than when you're at the other side of the car. But,
well, when you're rally driving, you're always crash on the passenger side.
Yeah, and if you're sitting there...
That's what I mean, you're not normally sitting there.
But I mean, the rally heritage of these is first class.
Well, there is some argument to say everything should be used. It's no good as a museum piece. You know, I've been in situations in my Dolomite, you're halfway around a corner, the car's sideways and there's a tree right in front of you. And it blips through your mind, you know, oh, don't crash this, you know. But then see so many rally cars fall into that category now, even the Datsun 1600. Because everything's got so scarce.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. I think we restore these cars to drive and use, and I'm looking forward to running it in some historic rallies and things. Because if you just want something nice to look at, get a nice poster. Put it on the wall. But to me, it's been an exercise in creativity.
So how did the colour choice, like when you got it,
it's a standard colour.
It is.
Yeah, this is Gristalium.
Right.
And the coupe did come out in that colour. The mag wheels on it are the correct ones. In fact, I've got a brochure, an original sales brochure, this colour, those wheels.
Right.
So the colour is correct. This colour also came in on the 406 coupe.
Right.
But it is the correct colour for the car. As are the wheels. In fact, as I said to you, it is faithfully standard, other than
even down to the tyres.
Even down to the tyres.
Michelin
tyres. I put new Michelins on it.
French tyres.
But I'd say, other than the power steering, cruise control, and the air conditioning, it's exactly as it was. And there weren't a lot of these V6 coupes.
Well, you've got to make them usable as well. You know, it's no good owning a classic car that's undrivable. You know, it pulls off to the left, drum brakes, or you can't bloody steer it. You got to make those concessions to make them. You know.
I've got one other modification to own up to that I forgot. A few years ago, there was an email circulated at the Peugeot Car Club that somebody in the UK wanted a Quaife diff made for their 504 rally car. And Quaife said they would only tool up to make them if they got 25 orders. So the email went out, and of course they filled the orders very quickly, and I bought one of them. And when it arrived, it was such a beautiful piece of engineering. I thought it should have been mounted on a timber block and put in the office. And it did sit in the office for many years, but when this project came up, it's been installed. I've got a 3.7 ratio, but the full Quaife diff in it, which they lock very quickly when you get loose.
I'm amazed at the British industry is so geared up for all this sort of stuff. It's quite amazing.
Well, the other issue too was the windscreen. Moorings in Brisbane had a mould for the coupe windscreen because it's specific to the car. But it wasn't quite right. And they stuck out about about 5 millimetres off the body on one side. And I wasn't happy with that, and I contacted Moore Glass in Sydney, in Botany, and they specialise in special windscreens. And I said to him, can you get me a windscreen for the coupe? And he went, yes. And he said, what colour band do you want on, blue or green? I said, what's happening? He said, the windscreen makers in the UK, I'm trying to think of their name, I've got a mental blockage, who make most of the windscreens. He said they decided to throw out all of the moulds for all the early model cars because they were just in the way. And they had a small factory down in the south of England, and one of their executives said, don't do that, give me the moulds and I reckon I can build a vintage car business that'll make it pay for. And that's exactly what happened. And so Moore ordered it. He was importing $40,000 worth of windscreens a month by air freight from the UK, and in it came, and it was only about $600. So it's not as if it was, you know, crazy price. But he had screens there that he got for a Ferrari, and he'd actually had the little ID numbers made up in aluminium. He was sandblasting them onto them because with the very expensive Pebble Beach restorations, all the numbers and everything there. And he, unfortunately, he's passed away now, but his daughter's still running the business. So the windscreen was made in the UK and came out here. I had another issue that the windscreen rubbers were perished, and eventually one of the car clubs in Europe had them made and advertised them. So I got brand new rubbers front and rear. The V6 badge on the back came up on eBay, and I grabbed it, and it was the only one that ever came up. It was not quite the right chrome colour, it was a little bit pink, so I had it re-chromed. But the V6 badge, which again is specific to these. So you've just got to forever be looking for parts. Grab them when you see them.
That's why 10 years, you know.
That's why it's taken 10 years. But eventually I got everything that I needed. I had the dashboard vacuum recovered by the dashboard doctor in Melbourne, and I wasn't game to send it by courier, so I hopped in the caravan, went down there, hand delivered it. Val and I stayed for 2 or 3 days in the caravan park. All they did was picked it up again and brought it home, because you know, where do you get another dashboard?
Well, I worry about that too when you give something to someone, a welder, or, you know, it's got to come back, you know.
I years ago, I was in the UK and I got a door trim for my 604 GTI that I managed to get in the UK, and I brought it back hand luggage on Qantas, and they said, oh, you know, we'll put it up in the front cupboard for you. When we got off, they couldn't find it. And they said, oh, sorry, we've lost it. How much do we owe you? I said, it's not about money. It's not replaceable. You find it. And I think it had gone to Dubai or somewhere on the plane had gone. But I did get it back, but only by hanging in again. We're not talking money. I want the part back, thank you. So, but restorations are wonderful, interesting.
It is a work of art, and you should be congratulated on doing such a great job.
Well, thank you, Jim. Yeah, I hope to get a lot of driving pleasure out of it in the next few years.
Now, should it be Peugeot or Peugeot?
Peugeot.
Peugeot?
The French pronounce it Peugeot.
Oh, okay,
But we answer to anything. We answer to Peugeot, Puggiot.
Oh, Pug.
Pug.
Yeah.
No, they're a Peugeot.
All right, thanks very much for that little chat about this wonderful car.
Pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm Quack McMullard. Bye for now.